listen up, yeah. Diabetic Davey is not a doctor or a healthcare professional. Alright, so if there's anything I'm talking about in these videos that makes you want to make a change to the way you manage your condition, make sure you check them out with a healthcare professional first. Just because something works for me doesn't mean it's gonna work for you. You've been warned. Enjoy the show now. Thanks for tuning in to Diabetic Davey. Now listen up, today's episode is going to be all about the Dexcom G5. I've got it in my arm right now. I know people will have been using these for a little while, but I've only just got mine. I've had it for just over 3 weeks, and I wanted to do a little review and give people an idea of what it's like living with a little chip in your arm just to monitor your blood glucose. Now at the end of the video I'll be going through some pros and cons about living with the Dexcom G5, and I'll also go through some hints and tips on things like how to improve accuracy and stuff that I've found has worked for me. But first, let's just dive into having a look at how my first 3 weeks living with the Dexcom G5 went. So, as you can see, I was well excited to receive my first Dexcom sensors and transmitter, and after a little read of the books that come with it, it was time to get it fitted. Right then people, get ready, it is time for insertion of my first Dexcom G5. I'm a little bit nervous, but I think it's going to be alright.
First, wash your hands with soap and water before opening the sensor package.
Gonna wash my hands. Got clean hands. Woohoo! Gotta do everything she says, otherwise it might go wrong. So here it is. Don't touch the adhesive.
Choose a sensor placement site on your belly.
Belly. I think I'm gonna go belly. Sorry, shush. What was that?
Choose which site to place your sensor.
I've chosen.
Few things
None of that.
place the sensor at least 3 inches away from your insulin pump infusion set or injection site.
Don't even have an insulin pump, so
Sure there are
what are you on about, love? Come on.
perfumes, or medications on the skin where you place the sensor.
Yep, done.
Change sensitivities and other personal traits.
I said she's got a nice voice. She's doing me head in now. Let's roll it on. Oh, this is it. Here we go.
You'll then clean the placement site on your body with alcohol
Yeah.
and let it dry. Your
Alcohol
sensor
white.
If you choose to use a skin preparation,
It's going in, people.
place it on the skin in a donut shape where you will
You know what? I'm just gonna have to take the top off.
let the skin
I do
preparation
apologise if you're getting too excited, ladies, but it's got to be done.
inserting your sensor. Move the adhesive tabs from the bottom of the
Adhesive
sensor
tabs are coming off, people. Adhesive tabs are coming off.
With your dominant hand, place 2 fingers above the sensor to below the collar.
Right, I'm going for the insertion now. Whew, I'm nervous. 3, 2, oh, I can get rid of that. I'm taking that bit off. Whoa, 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 whoa. Right, going now, strong hand. So you can pinch like that. Ow! Do you know what? It didn't hurt that much, but it was a bit sorer than I expected it to be. Right, I think I'm inserted now. What do I do? Oh shit, hang on. Be with you in a minute.
Pull the collar up completely towards your thumb.
Oh, I've done that.
Until you hear 2
Did it in
clicks.
one motion because I'm
Now
advanced.
pull back and in. It's time to attach the transmitter.
Transmitter time.
First, your sensor insertion is now complete. You are now ready to go on to the next step.
I'm ready for the next step, people. Look at that. It's in. Check it out. Dexcom G5 in your face. So, the next step is to attach your phone to the transmitter through the Dexcom app. This is simple and takes up to 30 minutes. Once that's done, you can start the sensor, which then takes 2 hours to warm up. It's a little while, but you can use this time to set your high and low blood glucose alert. I absolutely love this feature because it just means your phone can warn you when you might be going low or too high, and you can make adjustments based on that data. But just remember, if you set yourself a really tight range here, like I did, your phone will be beeping at you like crazy until you get really, really good glucose control. it might be best to start with a range that you know that you can stay in, but it's a little bit of a challenge. Then as you get better at controlling your sugars, which you will do with the Dexcom G5, you can reduce those lines so it becomes more challenging and you can get your bloods in a really steady range. Nice one. So here's a few snapshots of my first couple of weeks with the Dexcom G5. Hello, I'm on about day 5 of the Dexcom G5 and it's going pretty well, to be honest, but it's just itchy and I'm always aware that it's there. I'm hoping after I've worn a few that might pass, but at the moment just always aware it's there, worried about knocking it out. But I suppose if I wasn't aware it was there, I might knock it out accidentally, so might be a good thing, who knows. I'm gonna re-rock tape my Dexcom because I think that's what I need to be doing, because little bits of it are coming quite loose, coming off pretty easy. Gotta be careful not to rip it out, I think. These bits are coming off, so I'm gonna cut my bits and then I'm gonna re-stick it on. Wish me luck, here we go. Oh, whoopsie. Most importantly now, it's good to have a good scratch because these get really itchy. Ooh, that feels good. You know when you need to test your bloods while you're riding your bike? On the Dexcom you can. To that, 4.7. Woohoo! Go Dexcom! Yes, time for the pros and cons of the Dexcom G5. Starting with the pros, number 1 is the G5 gives you more control over your diabetes. Because it's taking 5-minute readings throughout the day, you're really given a clear picture of how things like insulin, food, or anything else like exercise or emotional states impact your blood glucose levels, and you can make adjustments based on that data. Number 2, I've found it's really accurate. I've only tried one other CGM, which was the Freestyle Libre, and I actually gave up on that after 2 weeks. I kept ripping it out of my arm, and the readings I was getting from it were really different to my blood meter, so I didn't feel like I could trust what it was telling me. But after 3 weeks of the Dexcom, I honestly can't imagine living without it. Number 3, I think the fall and rise rate alarms are amazing. They enable me to make adjustments early so I spend less time in dangerously low or high glucose ranges, or I just avoid them altogether. Finally, number 4, I've got to say the Dexcom Clarity website is boss. So much info on there to help us improve our management of diabetes, from things like patterns that it picks up on, to hypo risk ratings. It gives you an estimated A1C reading. I mean, there's so much on there that I would say check it out if you've got a G5 and just see which bits are most useful for you. Okay, time for the cons. Now, Dexcom is too expensive. It's just under £2,000 a year for enough sensors to last you, and that's only if you get accuracy in your second week, but it's well over £2,500 a year if you want to be changing your sensor, like they suggest, every 7 days. On top of that, there was one other con I found. It can take a little longer than our finger prick tests to recognise the rise in blood glucose after treating a hypo. I mean, get ready for a science lesson now, because the G5 reads glucose levels from our interstitial fluid, which is a fluid that surrounds our cells just underneath the skin. Now, glucose goes through our bloodstream first and then into our interstitial fluid, meaning that the readings from the fluid can be up to 15 minutes delayed from what we're getting on our finger prick blood tests. Now, this makes perfect sense if you know this, and it requires a bit of patience when you're treating a hypo to see the rise on your Dexcom app. But after the first couple of times it happened, I was panicking because my phone was beeping at me, warning me about a low glucose. I ate too much and then my bloods went well over my intended target after treating the hypo. Now, I know this was my fault, but I think it's worth mentioning in case you have a similar experience when using the Dexcom. Nice one. Just a couple of hints on the Dexcom G5 before I finish. The first one is to make sure you're getting as accurate readings as possible. Now to do this, you need to make sure that your calibration blood tests are accurate. So just make sure you wash your hands before you do them. Trust me, I've had such different results in the space of like 20 seconds just from washing my fingers. Also, try and do your calibration blood tests when your bloods are as stable as possible, so they're not rising or falling quickly, because this is when the interstitial fluid we talked about is most different to your blood glucose readings. I find one thing that can help with this is a low carb diet, because if you're eating less carbs and injecting less insulin, any drops or any rises you have tend to be a lot more mild than if you're eating potatoes or crisps or rice, things like that. Your blood spikes can be quite rapid, and because you're doing more insulin, so can the drops. Right, you want to be getting the most out of these expensive sensors, so you need to make sure they are secure, like I did with rock tape. I mean, there are products out there that are designed to keep a Dexcom on that might be a little bit more expensive, and also skin tack seems to be popular with Dexcom, especially if you've got sensitive skin. Now, if you're going to start a second week with your sensor, get your money's worth, then they need to be secure. Oh, go ahead! That is my review of the Dexcom G5 right here. Basically, I think it's boss. But if you've heard anything in this video that you've got thoughts on, feelings about, comments, then please post them below and I will get back to you. Now remember, even though I'm doing science lessons and talking, some pretty, intelligent stuff on here, I am not a doctor, am I? So if you've heard anything or seen anything that makes you think you might want to make a change to the way you manage your diabetes, check them out with a healthcare professional first. But thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you all next time, la! Boom!